Hello, Dippers, and welcome to Volume 30 of Humpday, Hysteria. As always, folks on Twitter and Instagram at The Saucy Pod. Listen to all our podcasts on iTunes and Spotify. And with me, as always, our St. Louis correspondent, the greatest basketball mind in 52 states, Fletcher Hoig.
Well, Leighton, I tell you what, over the offseason, Paul George didn't sign with the Lakers. And let's just think back for a second. Let's say they signed Paul George and LeBron James in the offseason. Does that change their chances or their mindset of wanting to trade for Brad Beal in the middle of the season?
No, because I don't think they have much of a mindset for Brad Beal anyway.
Brad Beal is like the ultimate LeBron player. 20-something points, over 40% from three. If you already have one big star and you can make, Brad Beal your third best star, still have Kyle Kuzma, I think they might consider it.
It's a very solid point. And now, with more solid points, but first, just gotta drop the noise.
Humpday, Hoops Hysteria,
a Sauce on the Side production.
For this week's show, you better get rid of Kawhi Watch.
I got it. On this week's show, the Bucks just can't slow down. The Rockets are finally trying to take off. The Lake Show is drying up at LeBron James. They would go to Eastern Conference. What will happen with Kawhi in Toronto? And the All-Star game got announced. So, Fletcher, we'll start with the Bucks. The Bucks have taken what seemed like to be just a hot start to the season and turned it into their new norm. They are now in sole possession of first place in the Eastern Conference. They lead the league in scoring and the top 10 in defense. Giannis has become a true MVP caliber player. Besides all those, what else is going right for the Bucks this season?
Well, you can't overstate how big Giannis has been for them. Giannis is getting, 26, 13, 6, steal and a half, a block and a half a game. I mean, he's tearing the NBA a new one right now. But you got to look around at some other players, and not even let's start without a player first. Let's start with the head coach, Mike Budenholzer, what he's meant to that team. He's taken kind of a band of misfit toys. He's taken guys like Eric Bledsoe and other players who haven't worked in the past, and he's kind of bolted them all together. Bledsoe's getting roughly 15, 5 and 5 a game. He's shooting over 30% from three, so I'm sure this is like a whole new feeling for Eric Bledsoe. He probably feels like he's Steph Curry out there. Then, you got Chris Middleton, who I think is one of the most underrated guys in the NBA. He's getting 18, 6 and 4, shooting almost 40% from three. Like that's big time. But, I talked about it before with the Bucks. What's really helped them is bringing in a guy like Brook Lopez, who can hit the three and defend the rim, and then Ersan Ilyasova, who can hit the three, and then also, guard you with footwork and positioning. It really provides length and spacing on the floor. It's got guys who can guard multiple positions with Jonathan and Chris Middleton and other guys on that team. So it's really a blend of length and talent and coaching that's it's really culminated very nicely for the Bucks.
So, do you think that first of all, do you think this will carry on the rest of the season, or do you think they have some regression?
I don't know if there's going to be any real regression on this team. I mean, length doesn't regress and defense doesn't really regress. Those are two things that always travel with you. You got Antetokounmpo, you got Ersan Ilyasova, you got Brook Lopez, you got Thon Maker, you got Chris Middleton. You've got some serious length out there. You're playing some other forwards that are 6'10", 6'11". You got some big long guards. That's always going to carry with you. Brook Lopez has earned the name Splash Mountain. I don't see him really regressing as far as a shooter. Chris Middleton, Ilyasova, some other guys on their team, I don't see them regressing as shooters. And I sure as hell don't see Giannis regressing as far as, output that he puts in, is scoring efficiently, rebounds, assists, and what he brings on defense. So they've really got a nice collection of talent and length on that team. I don't think any regression is going to occur. I think they're kind of continue to rise as the season goes, more or less.
All right, so injuries are always a concern with every team in the NBA. With the way the Bucks are playing right now, do you think they might try to make a move at the trade deadline? Or do you think that they're going to sit pat what they have right now and see what they can do in, June, go forward with that?
Well, I don't see any trades coming in particular. I could be wrong. I don't see any trades coming. I think that they're going to be one of those teams like the Celtics or the Raptors, just any kind of good playoff team that's looking to pick up a veteran guy, on the minimum when buyouts and stuff like that occur, just to give them some more depth and more shooting. So I don't think any trades will come, but they'll definitely be looking to make acquisitions still.
Do you think they're going to come out Eastern Conference, the NBA Finals?
Well, they currently hold the one spot right now in the Eastern Conference, and no, I lied. They don't. They're actually a half game back, but they can definitely beat Toronto in a 7-game series. They can definitely beat Indiana, Philadelphia, and Boston. I think they can beat all those teams. What's crazy is that team just provides so many different matchups that could really mess with the team. They could go small and fast by putting Giannis at the 5, or they could go as big as they want with, putting Giannis, Ersan, and Antetokounmpo or Brook Lopez all on the court at the same time. Then you can put Middleton and George Hill out there, or Eric Bledsoe, whatever you want to do. I mean, you could just run so many different lineups and cause so many problems. In a 7-game series, those matchups and how you defend certain things really mean a lot then, and that's what's going to be really useful for them come playoff basketball.
All right, one thing before we move on. We just sucked Giannis' dick a whole lot just now. But we'll do it for another second. Where do you think he ranks in terms of players in the NBA?
I don't know. I had Giannis in my top 5 last year, so I think it's got to go. I think he's probably 3 or 4 at least. It's got to go LeBron and then KD, and then for a while I had Steph Curry at 3rd, and then you got some combination of Kawhi, Giannis, however you want to shake it out from there. But I think Giannis has earned his name right behind Kevin Durant, and maybe in some people's minds he's fighting for that 2nd spot. I don't know, but he's definitely top 5, no problem.
Without a doubt, best player in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, as of right now, I think so. I mean, he's carrying this team. Toronto has played a number of games without Kawhi Leonard this year. They have a winning record. The Spurs last year without Kawhi Leonard made the playoffs in the Western Conference. I think he obviously means more to the Bucks. I think he's a better player. 26 or 27 and 13 with in 6 and stealing a block a half a game or whatever, shooting 54, 55% from the field. That's hard to duplicate. That's really hard to duplicate. So yeah, I think he's definitely the best player in the Eastern Conference, and the All-Star votes indicate that as well.
Yeah, not going to Western Conference real quick. Houston Rockets, I think they're going to be just fine. They're 4th in the Western Conference. They won 10 out of the last 11 games. Several of those have been without Chris Paul. Since they brought also have been great for him. Besides James Harden putting up guarding numbers every single night, how are the Rockets going to turn the season around so quickly and significantly?
Well, I mean, James Harden has had a historic month, so they're really going as James Harden goes, and that's really, the common denominator here for their success. Like, you see success for the Rockets, and you see James Harden's output. There you go. But Clint Capella's getting 17 points, 13 rebounds a game, almost 2 blocks a game, shooting roughly 64% from the field. Like, he and James Harden are really carrying this team without Chris Paul. What's unfortunate, though, is you look at a guy like Eric Gordon, and, I mean, He's kind of having career lows almost here. He's shooting less than 40% from the field, barely 30% from 3. But, you got guys like P.J. Tucker who's, getting almost 40% from 3. They add Austin Rivers, who's a nice little piece, especially while Chris Paul's out. There have been other, guys contributing here and there. They've brought some guys up from their G League roster who have made big impacts and, play with high energy. But in all reality, this whole thing is James Harden's show. If James Harden wasn't there, they'd probably be at the bottom of the Western Conference like they were, earlier in December. But he's just he's caught fire in a way that, you don't see very often. The only concern I have for James Harden is he cannot handle this workload. Will he sustain health? And then when Chris Paul comes back, can Chris Paul sustain health for the regular season and playoffs?
So earlier, I listened to the Doug Gottlieb show at work, and he talked about how the Warriors first started becoming this great dynasty. They put Draymond Green at the 5 and really killed him with a small ball lineup. And then he said something that I thought was really questionable. Might be true. Do you know this for sure? Is P.J. Tucker play the 5 for the Rockets?
Yeah, oddly enough, he does spend some time at the 5, depending on how they rotate things. He doesn't do it often, and it's not a lineup that gets a lot of usage. But yeah, they do have lineups where you'll see James Harden and P.J. Tucker guarding 4s and 5s. It's really a weird thing to see. I saw it some on Christmas Day, but that's just a brand of basketball that they play. It's really hit or miss depending on who you play and how well you're shooting. You saw how bad Houston was struggling. You've seen how bad that lineup can do, and you can see kind of the fruits of it now with this month that James Harden and the Rockets have been having. But, yep, it does happen sometimes.
So what do you think happens when Chris Paul comes back?
You're going to see James Harden's numbers dip for sure. I would still try to, use James Harden as much as possible without risking, fatigue and injury and stuff like that. And when you got to incorporate Chris Paul back in slowly as far as, minutes, I'm sure he's fine playing with everybody on the court as far as chemistry is concerned, but you just got to you want Chris Paul for the playoffs more so than, the last 2.5 months of the regular season or whatever. So I'd work him in gradually.
This would definitely not happen, but do you think Chris Paul would be better suited coming off the bench with how the team's playing right now?
You know what? I mean, when they first bring him back, he might come off the bench a game or two, but he's not going to come off the bench for very long, I don't think.
Yeah. How do you get on that one? And staying in the Western Conference, the Lake Show is running dry. Without LeBron James, like it's 1-3, it isn't terrible, except for they're in the ultra competitive Western Conference and are now in 8th place, which is only 4 games out of 15th place. Mm-hmm. There's still no definite timetable for LeBron's return, knowing that what's the best case scenario for the Lakers, and what can they do to just keep above water, basically?
Well, first off, let me just go ahead and say this. I'm sure I'm going to be, sound like a broken record, but, you got LeBron James and you're vying for a top 4 spot in the West, and the next thing you know, you lose LeBron for 4 games, and you're looking at, being out of a playoff spot. So you can't underestimate or undersell the value of LeBron James, but I'm not going to talk about that for very much. I'm not going to talk about it anymore, actually. One game that they had put in the bag against the Kings that the Kings came back and won, and Bojan Bogdanovic hit a game-winning 3. Gave him one of those losses. If they had won that game, they'd be 2-2, which would have them tied for the 6th spot in the West. So that just shows you how much can fluctuate in the Western Conference. But really, the best case scenario for the Lakers is, like I said, the best case scenario for the Pacers back when Oladipo was out. Just weather the storm without Oladipo, weather the storm without LeBron James. And in this case, what that means, just holding on to some form of a playoff spot. It doesn't matter where you're at. Just don't fall out of the top 8. Keep your playoff seeding. And then when LeBron gets back and healthy, just kind of pick things back up where they were and see where you can get the team then. Hopefully you can maybe look at adding like a guy like Trevor Ariza, once buyouts and stuff like that occur. So,
yeah, and like you said, there's cause for concern because they have fallen off a cliff kind of, but they're a competitive game. That Kings game, they should have won that game. The game against the Thunder last night, they led for a long time until Paul George decided to go ahead and just become the best player in Los Angeles at the time.
Yep.
So this team can be competitive. But now going back to LeBron, we've seen him walking into games, drinking wine or other adult beverages, and then doing it on the bench. They claim the drink on the bench was just coffee. Do you think this is a big deal?
I mean, we all know he likes his wine. That's no big deal to me. I drink plenty of wine. I drink plenty of other alcoholic beverages as well. But LeBron, he claims to be a role model, and he does so much, social activism kind of stuff with the school and other I Promise foundations and stuff like that. So I understand, like, you being comfortable with yourself and you being comfortable with who you are and not trying to impress anybody. But at some point, you have to realize, like, you're showing up to work. And I know you're not playing, but it's still your job. Like, you don't want to have a buzz while you're at work. Like, your employer wouldn't like that. Mine wouldn't. So it sends the wrong message. It's one thing. He could drink a bottle of wine before he shows up, as long as he doesn't do it in the sight for everybody. I mean, what if kids see that and they see him going to work drinking? Like, it sends the wrong message. It didn't rub me the wrong way because I know him, like, as far as how he likes to indulge in different kind of tastes of wine and stuff like that. But, like, it's just not a good look. And then I assume the coffee or the other beverage was coffee. It came in like what was looking like a Starbucks kind of cup. So I'm just gonna take that at face value. If the dude's willing to walk up into a game with a glass of whatever, I don't think he's gonna hide it any other time or lie about it any other time. So
yeah, and Rebecca, you were saying about how he did come up with himself. It feels like he kind of forgot that. Oh shit, I'm LeBron James. Like, I'm one of the athletes that transcends the sport, can't be doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Go ahead.
However, he did not forget he was LeBron James whenever he said this on his ESPN show.
Yeah.
Winning the title with Cleveland, that's when I knew I was the greatest ever. I don't have a problem with that. A large part of me believes he's the player of all time. Not all of me, but a large part of me does.
Yeah.
I'm fine with him saying that because he was at least honest with what he was thinking.
Yeah.
People freak out about it. How do you feel about him saying that?
A lot of times, people have said that in the past, like Muhammad Ali claimed he was the greatest boxer ever, and looking back at it, like, nobody has a big deal with it. And you have if there's nothing wrong with guys carrying that kind of mentality, like I'm the best or I'm the best ever, I'm the best to do it kind of thing. Like you want your athletes to have that kind of confidence. It's just for some reason people are so attached to Michael Jordan because of the whole shoe thing. Like a lot of guys our age didn't even grow up watching Jordan, never watched a game of Jordan. If you did, it was when he was in Washington or, I mean, so it's a weird dynamic that people get so upset about that, but I can't fault him for having that confidence. I would have that kind of confidence if I was still playing. So, again, you can, and his biggest homer ever, Nick Rice, had the same thing. He says he became the greatest player ever after winning that title. So, I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. I don't think he's the greatest ever yet. I think he has a chance to do it. But, again, what it boils down to is I don't have a problem with him saying it. I don't have a problem with him having that kind of confidence either.
Do you feel like if LeBron says something along the lines like, I don't feel like I'm the best player, there's not for me to decide, something like that, he still get backlash for having that kind of mentality?
Well, people have been playing stuff, and they've been playing the clips with Jordan like, oh, it's disrespectful to call me the greatest player ever. I never got to play against, Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, all these different guys he starts naming. And people have been playing this, and it's like, they're trying to show MJ in kind of like a more positive, humble kind of light, and you consider LeBron to be maybe more arrogant or, cocky to some extent. But it's like, Michael Jordan had issues with infidelity with his wife. He had a gambling addiction.
He was definitely cocky.
Yeah, he punched Steve Kerr in the face. Like, there's a lot about MJ that's not as good as LeBron when it comes to like off the court kind of stuff. I know LeBron has the HBO show where he's been cussing a little bit, and then he made the I guess like a bold statement in some people's mind that he's the greatest player ever. But like, just because you have that confidence doesn't mean you're a bad guy. And we all know HBO airs kind of like edgy kind of stuff, real kind of stuff. Like if you tune into HBO like and watch it, like you kind of know what you're signing up for with that kind of programming. So just because a guy cusses or has confidence in himself doesn't mean I think he's arrogant or a bad guy.
Speaking of cussing a lot, on the ESPN Plus show, he says fuck a lot. And they don't believe anything. He says fuck, he says shit, he says the N-word. He just lets it rip on there. And that's just, I don't know. That's LeBron James, I guess. Dreams walking in the games now.
Yeah, I guess he wants to show the unfiltered version of himself. And, I mean, I cuss all the time, too. So, I mean,
yeah.
Again, it's just kind of like the example you're setting for people. Because, I mean, they say, like, the beginning of his show is like, viewer discretion advised, mature, adult content kind of language. But it's just like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. All right, now we move on to Let's Show on the Fly. This is a segment where I ask Fletcher 3 questions. He answers them all on the fly and prepare for them. This is all going to be about a player talking about already in the show a whole lot, Jonathan Antetokounmpo, and who would you rather have for the rest of their careers. First question. Rest of their careers, Jonathan Antetokounmpo or Kevin Durant?
For the rest of their career, I mean, Durant's like 30, 31. Giannis is, he's on his second contract still. So, I mean, you look at paying Giannis Antetokounmpo $24 million a year. That's kind of like a bargain, really, in this NBA and where the cap's at right now. So you're looking at longer, more longevity. You're looking at a guy who's locked into a pretty friendly deal compared to, what some people are paying for, his level of talent now. So I'm going to stick with Giannis. You'd have him under contract longer. You have more career left, barring any kind of crazy string of injuries. So Giannis is my guy.
Next question. Giannis Antetokounmpo or Anthony Davis?
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
And let's just say money is irrelevant for these.
Yeah, I was going to say, barring any kind of contract kind of thing here, because, I mean, Anthony Davis could sign for, the Russell Westbrook kind of contract extension with New Orleans. But I think I might have to go with Anthony Davis on this one. Anthony Davis impacts the game really well on offense and defense, which obviously Giannis does too. And Giannis can do a lot more, as far as inside and outside. But so can Anthony Davis, really. I mean, he can switch and guard all 5 positions. He can step out and hit a 3. He can handle the ball some. He can pick and pop. He can do a lot of different things. He can hit free throws, which Giannis is struggling with, and Giannis is struggling with outside shooting. I think in this particular case, I'm going to go with Anthony Davis. They're both around the same age. Anthony Davis is a guy who could win multiple Defensive Player of the Year. He could flirt with MVP if he was ever on a team that was worth a fuck. So I'm going to actually pick Anthony Davis in this one.
Let's see that one coming. And now we're on to our last one. Jonathan Antetokounmpo or your boy, Luka Doncic?
Oh man. You know what? I'm gonna roll the dice here. I'm gonna say I'm just gonna go ahead and take Doncic. I know that their games are totally different, like the way they play the game. Giannis is based on size, speed, athleticism, just overpowering you with dominance, and Doncic is kind of more of a finesse game. But the more Doncic plays, the better his shooting numbers are going to be. I mean, he's only shooting 44% from the field, shooting a lot higher from three. But as his body matures physically, he gets into more weight programs, diet programs, and the game slows down for him. His points, rebounds, and assists are all going to accumulate. And the thing is, like, he's a kind of guy already who's having maybe the best rookie season in NBA history. He's propelled the Mavericks to flirting with the playoffs, kind of, and that's really impressive out in the West. It's really impressive with his team that doesn't have a whole lot of talent, So I'm gonna take the trajectory of Luka Doncic and roll the dice on that one.
All right. Well, Fletcher, unfortunately, you did this to yourself, but we gotta have a bonus question now. Anthony Davis, Luka Doncic.
I'm rolling with Luka Doncic, man.
All right, he's your boy.
I'm gonna roll with Luka Doncic over a lot of people. I told you and Drake the last time I was on the Monday show. Like, he said, "Do you think Luka Doncic could ever be in the GOAT conversation?" I'm like, "Yeah, there's no reason he couldn't." I mean, he's averaging 19, 7, and 5 as a rookie.
All right. Do you have a Luka Doncic jersey yet?
No, I only have a Victor Oladipo jersey. I only get jerseys for the guys that are on my team. So only Jarvis Landry, only Oladipo, and only Marcelo Zuna. So.
All right, and that has been Fletcher on the Fly. Daddy back here every week. Fletcher, we have some breaking news to announce. The Chicago Bulls have traded Justin Holiday for Marshawn Brooks, Wayne Selden, and 2 second-round picks. Does this mean anything to you?
Nope, it does not. I guess, I don't know, maybe there's like contract deals or guys are expiring deals, that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's the case or not, but 2 second-round picks doesn't excite me. Getting Marshawn Brooks and Wayne Selden. Wayne Selden's got he could show some flash in the pan kind of potential. He was a standout athlete at Kansas, played at the same time as Embiid and Wiggins. He's really a good athlete. Justin Holiday's kind of older, kind of a veteran now. Doesn't he provides shooting, but I see the point in wanting to get Selden and Brooks just because, well, not necessarily Marshawn Brooks, but Wayne Selden, younger, has some potential, and then 2 second-round draft picks doesn't move the table or move the dial for me much, but the deal is pretty much a non-factor in my eyes for most of the NBA.
All right, now we get back to the main broadcast. Kawhi Leonard, playing the best basketball he's ever played as in the Raptors and the best teams in the NBA. Before this season, there were mixed messages about whether or not he would end up re-signing with Toronto after the season. It was reported that when the All-Star game was there a few years ago, he left his hotel room. Once he got there, players came out and said that it'd be hard for him to know Toronto. And just today, ESPN published a story about how Toronto thinks they can keep him. Of course they can keep him, but do they actually have a chance to keep him?
No, not really. Kyle Lowry, a guy who is, a really warm personality, really open personality, he said, and he travels with him, he's with him every day, plays the game with him, out there on the court with him, like player connection, bonding kind of thing, more so than the front office and coaching staff. He was like, they asked him one time, a reporter, and he was like, they said, "Do you think that Kawhi will stay, or what do you think the chances of Kawhi staying on?" He's like, "I don't know." He goes, "I can't read the guy. Like, I don't know." And so, like you said, he doesn't like the cold, wouldn't leave his hotel room during the All-Star weekend just because he hates the cold so much. Like, I don't see him signing there. I see him, they say, I think he's leaning towards LA, but, people say that he's going to the Clippers with, Kevin Durant. Like, I don't see Kevin Durant really going. Like, Kevin Durant left Russell Westbrook because they didn't get the ball. Like, they didn't share the ball enough. Kawhi Leonard averages like 2 assists for his career, so I don't see him going and teaming up with Kevin Durant either, but I don't think he stays in Toronto.
All right. The Clippers today think go to the Clippers. Talked about that already. But last season I said LeBron wouldn't go there just because LeBron going to the Clippers. Do you think Kawhi will go to the Clippers, or do you think, in my opinion, I think he'll stay. I think it will be hard to leave the Eastern Conference seeing how successful he's been, I guess. So do you think knowing that the Eastern Conference is an uphill climb might deter him at all?
So are you asking me, like, if he could realistically go to the Clippers? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he could definitely realistically go to the Clippers. I don't know why you wouldn't go to the Lakers if you're him. I mean, you could easily slot Kawhi Leonard into the 2 and keep all your forwards and LeBron James. So I would go to the Lakers if I was him. I definitely there's a realistic chance he could go to the Clippers. The Clippers have a lot of nice pieces around them, and they have 2 max slots opening up. So he could definitely go to the Clippers, though.
All right, and speaking of Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers and Lakers and other teams, the All-Star team got kind of announced today. The first round of voting came out, and highlighting it all, we have Vince Carter as 7th place in the Eastern Conference front court. How do you feel about Vince Carter's probability of making the All-Star team this season, Fletcher?
Well, this is like that one time a few years back when, Kobe Bryant and Allen Iverson were on the tail ends of their career and getting big-time All-Star votes. It's just like a way for the fans and, those organizations to kind of pay homage to kind of a I don't want to say legend in Vince Carter. I mean, Allen Iverson and, hell, I'll go ahead and say it. Vince Carter's kind of a legend. Kind of the same with Kobe and AI. They're just kind of paying their respect, so to speak, I guess. He's obviously, I don't think he's going to be in the All-Star game. It doesn't warrant being in the All-Star game, but it's, it's nice to see that people respect him for what he's done.
All right. And now back to the actual headliners. LeBron James leads all players with over 1 million votes. John Kumpo is second with just under 1 million votes. How do you feel about these 2 guys leading the charge, and do you think they deserve to lead the charge?
Oh, yeah, they definitely deserve to lead the charge. You got LeBron James, vote getter, Giannis, second vote getter. That definitely makes sense in my mind. Just kind of what they've done for not only individual performances, but for how it relates to their team as well. Go ahead and tell everybody who is the second vote getter in the Western Conference front court.
From front court is Luka Doncic. What's his boy?
Yep, that's right.
Yep, I didn't even notice that second place in the Eastern Conference guards is Dwayne Wade, and second place in Western Conference guards is Derrick Rose. And Derrick Rose has pretty commanding leader with James Harden.
Well, he's had a lot better year. Just look at the numbers. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, that's the only problem you have with fans voting for the All-Star thing. It's like fans should have an input, but should they have the sole input in the deciding factor? Like, no, because there was that one year that Zaza Pachulia was getting way more votes than DeMarcus Cousins, and DeMarcus Cousins was getting like 25, 13, and 2 or something like that. So it's nice that fans have a vote. They just have to decide on what is the appropriate amount of say they have.
Yeah, I agree. And I also wish they could cap the vote at 1 per person, not 20,000 per day.
Yeah, I just voted for Oladipo earlier today, and I mean they were like, okay, vote again in 24 hours. It's like, okay. Yeah,
I do not vote in an All-Star game because I don't like that rule. I feel like it's cheating, so I don't want to be a part of it. So in my own personal boycott of All-Star voting, that is why. But one thing before we move on, Ben Simmons listed in here as a guard. I guess he does run the point, but he's definitely a forward at heart. Yep. Do you feel like that's correct?
Yeah, he's playing point guard, but you can obviously watch, in the games, he's a tall, fast guy who can dribble the ball well, who happens to be playing point guard. There's no part of him that's a true point guard. He doesn't initiate he initiates the offense. He doesn't command the floor. He doesn't run the team. He's a great passer, but he doesn't run and command the floor. He doesn't handle late game situations well because he's not a very good shooter and he's not a good free throw shooter. So, really what it is, Philadelphia does not have a true point guard. T.J. McConnell does not dribble the ball well enough to be playing point guard for 40 minutes. So they're like, okay, we'll play Ben Simmons at the 1, which that's great and all. And he makes a lot of spectacular plays, but he can make a lot of spectacular plays at the 4 too. So he is more of a forward. It's kind of annoying that he's listed as a guard, but it's just the nature of the circumstances right now, really.
Before we move on to best team right now, do you have any more comments or anything to talk about the All-Star voting?
DeMarcus Cousins is on there. Hasn't played a game yet. Lonzo Ball is higher than Devin Booker. Those are some things that pop out to me. Jeremy Lin's on there again, so I guess you got people out in where's he from? Thailand or Taiwan or something like that?
I think, out there in some Asian country.
So he's definitely getting a lot of support from back home.
Nikola Jokic's behind Steve Adams.
I see that. That's kind of. They're always going to see things like this, but this is the initial kind of ballot returns or voting returns or whatever. So, I'm sure it's going to change a lot. I hope things right themselves, but you always get those weird kind of circumstances when fans vote.
We should start a Twitter petition to get Swaggy P in the All-Star game.
They should just make a petition to let me decide it all.
That'd be probably the best thing possible. Can't to have 11 Pacers on the Eastern Conference team.
No, I wouldn't do that, but Oladipo would definitely be on there. They just let me decide one shot for everything. All-Stars, awards, MVPs, Hall of Fame, everything.
Just make you the all-knowing maester of basketball.
I will be the end-all, be-all when it comes to professional basketball.
Just kind of the dream. And I'm on the best team right now. Eastern Conference. Bucks go to the top spot. Other than that, not too much has changed. In my opinion, best team in the conference, though, is the Raptors. Yeah, they fell out first place, but looking back at the whole season, I just like how they're set up better, like they'll make it better than the Bucks with Kawhi Leonard, with Kyle Lowry. I like that experience better than the Bucks.
Yeah, I said this earlier in the year, and Toronto, they're going to have a really, really tremendous regular season just because they can play 11, 12, 13 guys, no problem. That depth matters a lot. When you got a couple guys out and you play PJ Siakam or you play, DeLon Wright on a Tuesday in Brooklyn or, a Wednesday in Denver, that kind of depth matters as far as picking up a win or a loss. Then you don't have to call up a G League guy. You don't have to bring up a guy from a two-way contract. So you have a legitimate pro who can actually play the game. In the playoffs, that doesn't matter as much because everybody shortens their rotations. They want to keep their better players out there longer, so that depth doesn't matter as much. The deepest you'll go in the playoffs is about 8, and so I think the best team in the East right now is the Bucks. They have that depth. They have the length. They have the shooting. They have best player in the Eastern Conference. Great coach. They have Eric Bledsoe really having a career year as far as shooting the basketball. I'm going to go with the Bucks, and they're in the top spot. So hey.
Now Western Conference. The Nuggets are in first place, and this seem to change every single week. The Rockets are the hottest team in the NBA, and of course the Warriors are the Warriors. It's just the Warriors, also the Warriors. I'm going to pick the Warriors, the best team in the Western Conference, and best team in the NBA.
Yeah, like you said, this top spot's going to fluctuate and go back and forth a lot. So I'm going to I'm going to give it the old hypothetical series that. Fictional series that hasn't occurred yet for my decider. If the Nuggets and the Warriors played a 7-game series starting tomorrow, I would pick the Warriors to win that series. So I'm going to pick the Warriors to be the better team in the Western Conference, even though they're at the 2 spot.
And in the NBA, I said the Warriors. Who do you got?
I'm going to roll the Bucks. I think the Bucks have swept the season series against the Warriors, and then like I said, in the playoffs, you talk about matchups and different kind of. Length and different factors that they provide. I'm going to go with the Bucks until proven otherwise.
It took us almost 3 months, but the Warriors have fallen out of the hierarchy of top spot in the NBA and Fletcher's official power rankings.
Yes.
Now I'm on to the game of the week. My game of the week is this Saturday night in Milwaukee. The Raptors versus Bucks. Kawhi Leonard, Antetokounmpo. Be going to watch.
Yep. I'm going with an evening game tonight on TNT. I'm going to go with the Rockets and Warriors. Should be a fun one. Let's hope the Rockets can continue their hot streak. Hopefully it'll be a good game. Hopefully James Harden and Clint Capella can have their way and kind of make a smoother runway for Chris Paul's return.
All right, one thing before you go. This game tips off in about 1 minute. This already happened, but what kind of reception do you think Kawhi got in San Antonio tonight?
Definitely a warm one. Well, you know what? No, I'm going mixed reaction. Because normally when a big star gets traded like that, they welcome him back, but I think some of the fans are going to be angry with him since he sat out and stuff like that. So I'm going mixed reaction.
I think he just gets booed. I think in today's age of social media and just knowing how just people's minds are today, they know he was probably okay to play if they want to. I think they're pissed about it and they don't like it. How good he's doing in Toronto now.
Yeah, those small market teams can definitely those fans can get their minds twisted. So I mean, that's coming from a guy who roots for 3 small market teams.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Well, Dippers, this has been Volume 30 of Hysteria. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the Saucy Pod. Listen to all our podcasts on iTunes and Spotify. From Leighton, from the basketball end all himself, Fletcher Hoig. As always, stay saucy.